About 6 weeks ago, Pastor Brennan was here, and he preached a message, and he made a statement that really caught my attention. He said that the main reason that God gave us the Bible was to teach us about himself. Now, I suppose I've always known that, but I never really thought about it in that way. And I think back to the church that I grew up in, which was a Methodist church, which I don't recommend that you go to. But there's only two things that I remember in that whole time. One of them was a youth activity, and another kid and I jumped in a stream and caught a trout. And the Reverend gave me a 10-minute lecture on how God was mad at me because I'd destroyed his trout. I remember standing there thinking as a kid, well, why would God be mad at me when you can go to the grocery store and buy a trout somebody else killed? Also, they have what they call catechism. When you're going to join the church, you have to go through these classes. And he brought in a record player with a 45 disc, and for those of you who don't know, it's a disc like this, and it's got a needle, and it comes down on the turntable, and he played a rock and roll song, and then he proceeded to tell us about what that artist was talking about. My point is, I went through all that, and nobody ever took the Bible and told me about who God was, and it wasn't until years later when I went to work that somebody had a Bible, they sit down and they opened the Bible and they showed me who God was, and I accepted Christ as my Savior and got saved. It's the same thing with the world. A couple of weeks ago, I was listening to an interview of a former female congresswoman. And the thing that caught my attention was she started to talk about how fearful she was of death and how deep her faith was and how much she walked with God. But she ended it with this. She goes, you know, we all believe in the same God. It doesn't matter whether it's Buddha or whoever it is. And the only thing that you have to really do is be loving and live in peace. And I thought to myself, she doesn't know the God of this Bible. And the same thing with in the workaday world. I run into it every day. There's a lot of paranoia and a lot of fear out there. And all I say is, I'm trusting in God. I know the God of this Bible, and it doesn't matter about anything else.